Hey there, welcome back to Globelines, where we map out the big moves shaping the world. Today, we're diving into a heated standoff between the United States and the European Union, sparked by Washington's plan to slap a 25% tariff on EU imports. This showdown could send vehicle costs soaring and shake up supply chains. Stick around as we unpack how this transatlantic power move could redraw the lines of the global auto industry.
The European Union is a different case than Canada, different kind of case. They've really taken advantage of us in a different way. They don't accept our cars. They don't accept essentially our farm products. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it.
Europe's next move could change everything. When Trump pushed for a hefty 25% tariff on EU goods, Europe didn't sit back. Determined to shield automakers like Volkswagen, BMW, and Stellantis, EU leaders hit back fast. Ursula von der Leyen made it clear, any unilateral move from the US would face instant pushback. In response, the EU slapped tariffs on iconic American products like motorcycles, whiskey, and denim, with thousands of jobs hanging in the balance. Europe knows its auto industry depends on North American markets, so this counterstrike was no shot in the dark. Some EU nations are even eyeing higher taxes on US tech giants, showing they're ready to play hardball. If the EU gets a favorable ruling, the pressure on Washington to rethink its tariffs will only grow. So far, Macron's diplomatic efforts haven't sealed a deal, keeping tensions high. But Europe's firm stance on protecting its auto industry is a clear sign. This fight isn't just about trade, it's a real test of transatlantic ties.
Of everything we do to secure the future of the car industry in Europe without any question. My third point is competitiveness. We need European car supply chains to be more robust and to be more resilient, especially when it comes to batteries.
Supply chain disruption shakes the game. Car production runs on a finely tuned global network, but Washington's 25% tariff on EU imports threatens to throw it off balance. U.S. factories rely on European-made parts, engines, brakes, and more. Disrupting that flow could slow production, drive up costs, and throw delivery schedules into chaos. Suppliers like Valeo and Bosch, already juggling EV investments, now face hefty tariffs that could cut into profits and push them to rethink their locations. Meanwhile, American assembly plants, dependent on just-in-time deliveries from Europe, risk shutdowns, layoffs, and a ripple of economic uncertainty if delays hit. Dealerships are stuck navigating inventory chaos, financing hurdles, and price swings. With inflation already hitting consumers, both import and domestic car prices could climb as tariffs ripple through the industry. Some automakers are looking to shift production outside the EU. But that brings logistical headaches and quality concerns. In the end, this supply chain turmoil hits both sides of the Atlantic hard. Before we dive in, help us draw new lines by hitting like and subscribe. It keeps the conversation going and brings more minds to the table. Now, let's chart the next big move. Global ripple effects shake the market. This U.S. EU tariff standoff isn't just a factory floor problem. It could shake entire economies. The auto industry is a major economic driver on both sides of the Atlantic, fueling jobs and pouring in billions. But higher trade barriers don't stop at car makers. Steel producers, parts suppliers, and even tech firms behind in-car software could take a hit. Experts warn that steep tariffs could slow growth, making the road ahead even rougher. Europe, still working to steady its economy, could see its GDP shrink by up to 0.4% if this standoff drags on. The US isn't immune either, with experts warning of slower manufacturing and weaker consumer spending. These numbers may not sound huge, but they mean real-world cuts. Fewer jobs, lower wages, and dipping consumer confidence. Rising car and parts prices will hit household budgets hard. and some buyers might scrap their new car plans altogether. Slumping sales could stall the auto industry's recovery from past supply chain troubles. With shrinking profits, automakers might slash funding for EVs and advanced driver tech, slowing innovation. Meanwhile, Wall Street is already feeling the heat. Auto stocks are swinging as inflation, interest rates, and global tensions fuel market uncertainty. Rising tensions on the legal and diplomatic front. As tariffs climb, a legal and diplomatic showdown is taking shape. The EU argues that Washington's 25% levy might break WTO rules, setting the stage for a high-stakes legal battle. While WTO cases drag on, a ruling against the U.S. could ramp up pressure to roll back the policy. But if Washington wins, it could double down on claims of unfair EU trade practices and gain more leverage at the negotiating table. Diplomatic ties are feeling the strain. The US and Europe have long worked together on trade, security, and the environment, but sudden tariffs are testing that bond. Some in Brussels see a chance to strengthen ties with Asia, including China, though that comes with its own challenges. France pushes for a tough, united response, while others worry that escalating the fight could make things worse. Germany, deeply tied to auto exports, is stuck balancing industry protection with avoiding an all-out trade war. Meanwhile, U.S. automakers and frustrated consumers are pushing Washington to reconsider. Whether through legal rulings or diplomacy, this standoff is set to leave a lasting mark on global trade. Crossroads, negotiation or escalation. As the tariff battle unfolds, the future of the auto industry is on the line. Diplomacy is still an option, with both sides considering sector-specific deals to ease trade barriers on certain vehicles. These compromises could help curb rising costs, but pulling them off would take serious coordination. Regulators, labor groups, industry leaders, and governments on both sides would all need to get on the same page. The other path? Full-blown escalation. If talks fail, both sides could ramp up tariffs, with Europe's anti-coercion instrument, ACI, giving Brussels the power to hit back, likely triggering a U.S. response. A tit-for-tat trade war could shake supply chains, send car prices soaring, and put jobs at risk on both sides of the Atlantic. The fallout might not stop there. Emerging markets could follow suit, fueling a wave of protectionism worldwide. Tighter trade barriers could slow the push for EVs and new tech, as companies shift funds away from innovation. But history shows that when job losses mount and prices climb too high, governments tend to rethink their stance. The next few months will tell whether diplomacy wins out or the divide deepens. Big picture, where things stand. With so much at stake, will leaders find common ground to protect jobs and keep the industry moving? Or are we heading for a drawn-out battle that hits automakers and consumers hard? What do you think? Diplomatic breakthrough or a prolonged standoff? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your take. And before you go, hit subscribe so you never miss our latest deep dives and upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Globelines.